morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, I want to show you a winning Lickilicky deck. Now, this is not the first time I've ever shown you a winning Lickilicky deck, and last time, people did not take it particularly seriously. And it's hard to really blame them. It looks like a gimmick deck, it looks like a bit of fun, but not something we're going to take particularly seriously. But now we've got a couple new tricks for Lickilicky, and maybe it's time to get ready to be licked. Sounds weird, right? Now, Lickilicky comes in, stage 1 Pokemon, single energy, 40 damage, nobody cares. But 3 colorless energy, 90 damage, nice. And you discard a random card from your opponent's hand. And you discard the top card of your opponent's deck. And you discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. And that's basically the plan here with Lickilicky. It is a full-bore disruption deck. It is energy denial, and it is hand disruption, and it is milling, all at the same time, all rolled into one. And it gives you a bunch of different ways to frustrate your opponent. You get rid of all their energy, so then they lose a couple of attacks, but while they're losing attacks, they're also losing cards on the top of their deck. But you're also getting cards out from their hand, which is going to take away their options. But then again, taking cards out from the top of their deck is going to get rid of some of their options, and round we go. And that's kind of my point here. I worry that some Pokemon will be able to set up fast enough to run through Lickilicky. But the fact of the matter is, and you can try this, just next time you're playing a game, imagine you lose a top card of your deck, have a peek, see what it is. If it's a friendly game, not in a tournament. Have a look at your hand, imagine you lose a random card. Now look at your Pokemon, imagine you lose an energy. And your opponent will, the Lickilicky player, will get to choose. They're going to take away the best energy there. Imagine all that's happening at once. Can you stand up to it? There is a decent chance that you can't. But Lickilicky's been around for a while. So what has changed? What is new with Lickilicky? And the answer is Altaria. We've got a new Altaria. It came around in the EVV deck over in Japan. And it's got the same ability as that Decidueye that we have just gotten, or just getting, depending how you look at it, in Darkness Ablaze. It prevents all damage done by Pokemon GX and Pokemon V. Except it's a stage 1, not a stage 2. So one of the things that this Lickilicky deck is going to do is it's basically going to go, you know what? If you are playing a deck which relies on GX and V Pokemon, I can probably just win the game using Altaria. I can just go Altaria and ignore the Lickilicky line entirely, and I can win the game that way. And that is going to be one way you're going to win a bunch of games. So now all of a sudden you don't have to rely on Lickilicky being good enough to win any game. You need to rely on Lickilicky being good enough to win any game against your opponent, not just playing GXs and Vs. So now your opponent is going to be relying on smaller Pokemon, which means now the relatively low damage output of Lickilicky doesn't seem so bad, because you're against weaker Pokemon. And then, of course, you need to bear in mind that that hand disruption, that deck disruption, that energy disruption is actually going to be better because now your opponent is in a far more streamlined game plan. They have got fewer options than they did before. They're relying on specific Pokemon and specific energy more than they would otherwise be. So now discarding that one card from their deck, their hand, that one energy, etc., that can actually have a much bigger impact because your opponent's following a much narrower strategy. That's what Altaria does so beautifully. It forces your opponent to go for their non-GX, non-V Pokemon and into a narrower strategy, and the fewer options your opponent has got, the better disruption is going to end up being against it. Now, in terms of other Pokemon, we do actually need to remember that the Lickitung here, and Lickitung is always a last. My daughter loves Pokemon Smile, and she loves sitting down and naming them all in the Pokedex, and Lickitung is always the last one we look at. So, you know, Lickitung's got a bit of a special place, quite frankly. We like Lickitung. But we like this Lickitung especially, because this Lickitung, for a single energy, draws a card for each of your Pokemon in play with a retreat cost of exactly 4. And we're not going for a full heavy deck here, but that can draw you 4 cards if you've got all 4 Lickitung out. That's kind of ridiculous. Now, there are a few other Pokemon we play here. Oricorio GX. If you had a Pokemon KO'd last turn, you get to draw 3 cards. Really good in a single prize deck, because in single prize decks, you're going to give up more KOs before you lose, which means more chances to draw. There is a copy of Ditto Prism Star, which is going to rotate, but just play another Swablu, you'll be fine. And there is a copy here of the new Dunsparce. Now, Dunsparce, it's not a Pokemon that's probably going to win you the game very much, unfortunately. It's unlikely to be a Pokemon that just comes along and takes 6 prizes and wins. But what Dunsparce does do is when it's KO'd by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, you discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. Now, this is going to be there a lot in the early game. You've got nothing else to do. Whack up Dunsparce, take a couple of cards off top of your opponent's deck. And it is worth playing at this stage. We do play a bit of Cursed Shovel here. So when a Pokemon gets KO'd, you discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. And then, of course, together, that's 4 cards off the top of your opponent's deck. That's going to be kind of hilarious and awkward for them. Less so for you, but definitely for them. It really is just the same as Dunsparce, but as a Pokemon tool card. And then essentially it's just a little bit of extra mill. It may well not end up being the thing that changes the game, but it can absolutely be something that it will occasionally get a couple of cards off the top of your opponent's deck, and they will occasionally make sure that that's what loses your opponent the game. And that's kind of hilarious. Now, in terms of energy, we're playing 4 Twin Energy and we're playing Triple Acceleration as well. Because you attack for colorless energy, you're a non-GX, non-V Pokemon, you're evolved. These will help you pay way more easily. We play a copy of Recycle Energy, so if it gets discarded, it keeps coming back. And we play a copy of Capture Energy here, which lets us, or a couple copies, lets us search for basic Pokemon and bench them. Now, this is really good because when you're going to attack with Lickitung, this will get you an extra Pokemon on your bench, which if it's another Lickitung, will let you draw an extra card. Now, in terms of trainers, there is a lot of disruption here. We are playing a full 4 copies of Crushing Hammer to try and discard energy from your opponent. We're playing Mars to get rid of some cards from your opponent's hand, although that is rotating. You will notice there's a copy of Balelba and Bryson Man here, but remember that has now been banned. We're playing Team Yell Grunt to take energy from your opponent's Pokemon and put it into their hand. We're playing the aforementioned Cursed Shovel. We're playing Lily's Pokédoll, which when it gets KO'd doesn't give up a prize, which is going to buy us a turn to do a bit more of that disrupting. Yeah. We're also playing Pokegear 3.0 to try and make sure we draw into those supporters more easily. And while we're talking supporters, we are playing Pokemaniac here. Lets you search for free Pokemon with a retreat cost of exactly 4 and put them into your hand. Really good because it searches out both your Lickitung and your Lickilicky here. Our stadium of choice is Chaos Vortex, or Chaotic Swell as it got translated, because that means that your opponent, if they play a stadium, lose that stadium without actually anything happening, which is kind of hilarious. Now, we do play some more standard supporters as well. We've got Marnie. Both players shuffle a hand, put it on the bottom of their deck. You get 5 cards, your opponent gets 4. Good for draw, but also good for a bit of disruption. We've got Cynthia for slightly better shuffle draw that doesn't disrupt. We've got Guzma and Hala. It lets you search for a stadium and a tool and a special energy. And we are kind of reliant on special energy here. We've got 1 basic fire. I don't think I mentioned that earlier, but we do play 1 basic fire. But outside of that, we're really reliant on special energy. But it will also get you your 1 Cursed Shovel or your Lucky Egg. When the Pokemon it's attached to gets KO'd, you draw till you got 7 cards left in your hand. Lucky Egg, pretty gosh darn good. So we play that tier, which is kind of lovely. And we do play Cynthia and Caitlin, which draws 3 cards while recovering a supporter. And we've got some really annoying supporters. We've got Birdkeeper Toby, which is a switch that lets you draw 3 cards. It's actually called Birdkeeper. I will call it Birdkeeper Toby by accident. That was genuinely accidental then. But I kind of like it. And I have absolutely no worries about that whatsoever. We do also play 2 copies of Pokénav. Now, Pokénav is unfortunately rotating, which is a little bit sad, but there are other cards you can pop in instead. This is the one that lets you look at the top 3 cards of your deck and find an energy or Pokemon, put it into your hand. It's not great search, but it does occasionally help out. It will do the job. We've got Ordinary Rod for recovering your Pokemon and energy, and Lana's Fishing Rod for recovering Pokemon and tools. Because we got tools here that are actually really gosh darn nice that we like. And then we got 1 copy of U-Turn Board. Reduces retreat cost by 1, but also goes back to your hand if it gets discarded. Really nice because Altaria's got a retreat cost of 1. This is a weird deck. This is an unusual deck. This is a deck that a lot of people won't take seriously, and that's alright by me. But it's also a deck which is super disruptive and lets you use the phrase lick your way to victory, which is weird and uncomfortable, but you don't get to say it very often. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's Lickilicky. It's back. It's winning again. And I don't think this is the last we've seen of Lickilicky. But I'd like to know what you think, and whether you're taking it seriously, and whether you think it's going to be good moving forward. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.